Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tom and I make videos that help you awaken your soul and manifest your dream life. Today we're talking about how you can heal your inner child blocks and traumas using what's known as the memory technique. And I got the basis of this technique from a book known as Pathways to Possibility by Rosamund Zander. It's in the early chapters of that book, and I started applying the basis of this technique and sort of tweaking it and evolving it into my own thing, and noticing incredible shifts happening within me. Lots of healing, lots of alignment into really high states, beautiful states of being. And so I didn't even finish the book, and I was so excited about this technique, I had to film a video on it right now and share it with you because I know it's going to transform your life inside and out. It's going to make you feel the most at peace within yourself, confident, worthy, like you're lovable, and you love yourself. And of course, it's going to manifest your best possible reality because your outer reality is always mirroring your overall state of being, your beliefs, your frequency of consciousness, etc. And so I can't wait for you to see these results from this simple and powerful technique. And so before we get into this technique, let's just explore a brief overview of our healing journeys and break down a couple of these key terms so we are on the same page, we know what we're talking about, we know why we're healing at the biggest picture level. So firstly, I like looking at a very big level because it's the only way that really lifts me up and inspires me and makes me really see the importance of healing. And so firstly, what are all these spiritual masters and sages and enlightened beings, these people that have had the most powerful, profound impact on humanity across all of human history? What are they all consistently telling us? They're telling us to turn within and to recognize our own oneness with a higher source, also known as God. Now, in my own spiritual journey, even though I very much consider myself in spiritual infancy, not a master, nonetheless, I have had various awakenings to high states of consciousness in which that oneness has been a realized experience. And what do you find when any trace of limitation of the human points of views and perspectives and ego and dualistic ways of thinking that box us down, when all of that is kind of dissolved away, we turn within and we ascend, we find love. We find love without an opposite. We find a brimming joy that can't be contained. We find a beauty that's so exquisite it melts our heart. And we just find this freedom, almost like we're just soaring through an open space and infinity and expansiveness. And in that moment, there's a higher perception of knowledge, which is that this is what we are. I am that I am. I am this. This is my nature. I am love. I am beauty. I am freedom. I am joy itself, without end, without beginning. This is our awakened state. And our healing journey is really about entering into this awakened state, this state of freedom and joy and limitless love on a more consistent basis. That's really what our healing journey is about. It's about letting go of any ideas that we are unworthy, that we are small, that what happened in our past has to define us, and recognizing actually, no, we are lovable, we are worthy, we are divine, and that we can feel safe in our own bodies, in our being who we are, in living our most empowered, authentic, aligned expression, sharing our soul's gifts, remembering why we came to planet Earth, who we are at the core of our being, at our essence, our divine spiritual essence. Our healing journey is about facilitating all that so we can actually experience the fullness of life. We can actually become one with all of life and radiate this truth so that we can be guiding lights for all who are still healing, who are still coming out of the darkness, who are still coming out of the fear, who are still experiencing the pain of neglect and abuse and trauma of various kinds. And ultimately the deep pain of being separate from God and the oneness with this source. It's about healing ourselves to experience that within ourselves, and then in this beauty of this state, gifting that to others, guiding them home within themselves so they can be free of suffering and one with the truth once again. That's really what the purpose of life is about, and what healing is really about. Us experiencing this exquisite inner state and then celebrating life, manifesting our best possible life in this beautiful way to reflect the beauty of this inner state we feel for the well-being of all. Our healing journey is really about facilitating that inner and outer transformation in the most incredible of ways for you. Now, if any of what I've said is a little bit overwhelming and it feels like that's not possible for me, I don't know what he's talking about these spiritual states. It all sounds a bit woo-woo. I don't know if this is true. That's okay. I totally understand. But you begin one step at a time. And that's the beauty of this technique, as I said, is it's that stepping stone to these more beautiful inner realizations and states and also outward manifestations of your dream life. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. We're all where we're meant to be. And notice how that relieves you of actually having to stress about healing and awakening. That's the opposite of the message. The message is love yourself as you are, and that doorway will just start opening at its natural pace. Okay, so let's get into this technique. The step number one is really you live your life. You live your life until you experience a moment where a negative, non-preferred emotion arises in your being. You may feel something tinge in your heart. You may feel a blockage in your solar plexus. It can be really anywhere in your whole body. You may feel a whole body emotion. But basically an emotion will arise. An emotion arising is a sign that there's been a trigger to a past trauma. And in that trauma, the kind of beliefs that we picked up around that trauma and also the trapped energy associated with that trauma. The emotion is signifying that a trauma has become activated within you and there's an opportunity to heal. So it's actually a very amazing thing. And so the second step is to place your awareness and your attention on this emotion. You don't have to do anything else, but wherever this emotion is active in your being, become aware of where that is and focus your attention onto that. And as you settle your awareness on it, take a deep breath and just sort of calm down and remain centered and focused on that emotion. The third step is to say a very powerful affirmation. And there are a few alternatives that you can say, but really the purpose of this powerful affirmation is for you to be rooted into your true self. So you are not your body, you are not your thoughts, which can be bubbling up and getting a bit chaotic as an emotion arises too, but you are not those two things. You are the loving awareness or consciousness that is witnessing all these thoughts and this emotion now active within your being. And so you say one of the following affirmations to root yourself in your true, limitless, formless, free identity, this powerful divine identity. You can say, I am a field of divine loving consciousness. I am a field of pure awareness. I am the energy of life itself. I am spirit. You get the idea. It's any of these things that are pointing to that invisible, formless dimension of yourself, that pure consciousness, that pure I am that you are, that's witnessing the thoughts and now your emotion. So you say that affirmation whilst keeping your awareness on that emotion. You then ask yourself two key questions about this emotion. And those two questions are, when do I remember first experiencing this emotion? And the second question is, what memory is this emotion or feeling connected to? So that's the next step, is you ask those questions without any pressure, just in a spirit of openness. You're actually asking these questions to that emotion as if that emotion was attached to a living past part of you and version of you. And so sitting with that emotion, you allow these questions to just penetrate into that part of you, and then very intuitively, very effortlessly, that part of you will reveal whatever that emotion is actually attached to, the traumatic experience and event, the memory. And so it may come in flashes of images, flashes of thoughts, often both. And so the beauty of just experiencing these memories or these thoughts that just spontaneously arise to you, is that actually in experiencing themselves, a healing takes place. It's almost as if these memories have been buried for so long, and this part of us hasn't had any chance to express itself to anyone that will be willing to give it loving attention. That actually just in giving it that permission to just reveal itself to you, not judging it, not trying to logically conclude if this is true or trying to interpret the memory in any kind of logical way, nothing like that, just being open, all embracing to this part of you, to this memory, to these thoughts. A healing takes place oftentimes just in that very act. And so whatever the case may be, whether it's a flashing memory from the third person or the first person point of view, from your childhood, from a past life, from any point in your life, or it's merely thoughts, or it's some other experience of just pure energy being released, whatever the case may be, is you just open yourself up to it and you just allow it to be experienced. That's the next step. And so the next step is to speak to this version of you in the memory, this version of you attached to these thoughts and this emotion active within your being, is to speak to it in the most loving, compassionate, supportive way possible. You want to speak to it as if you're speaking to a 5-year-old child in fear and in pain. And you want to basically not try to convince it or change it, but just to lovingly soothe it, just like you would a child. So you say, "Thank you for sharing that with me. You are safe. I love you. It's okay. I'm here for you. You are always safe. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm always here for you. You're always a good person, even if this happened to you." Anything of that nature. You speak it to yourself and you really speak it like that version of you exists and is dying to hear it, is crying out for that kind of love and attention. That's the next step, is you speak to it and just witnessing that as you speak to it in this soothing way, it soothes. The emotion releases, the memory kind of dissolves away almost, and a massive amount of alignment and healing takes place. And finally, there's a last bonus step that you can do if it resonates with you. Now, this step may not apply to all memories, and it may not apply at all times. You may not feel up to doing this step, so really trust your resonance. But the whole idea is that after you've spoken to yourself in a soothing way and you've placed your awareness on that emotion and it's all kind of entered into a state of healing and relief, you compound it to another level by going back to that memory, to that version of you, and asking yourself how you could have interpreted that situation or experienced that situation in a more loving, divine, empowered, wise way. The kind of way that you as your current self now has access to, those kind of points of views and thoughts. So you might go back, I know for me, I often was scared to express myself when I was a young child, in my schooling life, around big gatherings and things like that. I often would halt back and feel afraid. And so I imagine that now I'm back in that situation, I can say to myself, I'm enough as I am. I'm totally safe to express myself. And so you kind of interpret the situation differently the way you could have at that time. And as a bonus step, you can even imagine that you actually went about that memory differently. So for me, instead of being hesitant in big family gatherings and standing there stiff, all afraid, I then imagine myself going out there and celebrating myself as if I actually did that in that memory, saying, I'm free to express myself. I am safe. I am enough as I am. Anyone that judges me is purely projecting their own unresolved pain on me. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm safe. And you can kind of reinterpret this memory such that it's as if you experienced something totally differently. How you would handle it right now as the evolved version of yourself you are right now. Only if you had access to that version of you back in that past memory when the traumatic experience happened. Now, as you can see, this may not apply to all memories, and it may not apply for a certain memory at a certain time. Often we have to heal certain layers of it and open up to levels of forgiveness and acceptance and healing before we're ready to kind of reinterpret this situation. And I don't want you to take away the pain you felt or feel like this is cheapening it or in any way. Trust what's right for you. And a lot of us have gone through really unspeakable traumas and tragedies and overwhelming events in the past that it has to be embraced very delicately. That goes for this whole exercise itself, is embrace it very delicately. All of that, all those steps sound very complex, but it's very simple and it can rapidly happen in literally 30 seconds to a few minutes. Sometimes you will have to linger and stay with the emotion longer if there's a big purging and healing happening. But oftentimes they're just little repetitions and you just heal, you align, you expand, and you move forward. And what happens is the more momentum you gain, the more familiarity you have with these patterns and blockages that are linked to the same traumas and memories that keep coming up, and you keep healing yourself and building that loving connection to relieve and realign yourself and build that relationship with those past versions of yourself. You start really just being healed. And so as soon as the trigger arises, you already know what it's about. It already falls away into alignment and peace. And that's when you really start building this momentum, this alignment, this empowerment, this knowingness of your worthiness, your divinity, your lovability, intrinsically, infinitely, and you start expanding outwards into truly incredible inner states, external manifestations in your outward life, and spiritual states of divine realization. So good luck with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative about the healing journey. So if you like this video, please like it, leave me a comment. I love hearing from you. Subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to get the free reality shift cheat sheet, which is a powerful resource guide that will help you transform your reality. And finally, don't forget to check out my one-on-one coaching where we can work intimately on your healing, spiritual and manifestation journey and really help you evolve and expand into your most divine, incredible, empowered self so you can experience and create your best possible life. That link for my coaching is down in the description below. And finally, stay tuned for more videos soon. Thank you.